Can we turn to Dean Russell for our next question?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you both for being here to be interviewed. Just to give a bit of context to my question, I've done a lot of work in the digital space over the past 20 years, and I've also lectured for the Institute of Data and Marketing, the IDM, and also Data and Marketing Association, the DMA. And through that time, obviously GDPR has been a massive issue over the past couple of years. That's the sort of context of my question really, is around the data usage within this. What sort of data is going to be collected? I appreciate that it's going to be very anonymous at the moment, but is there a risk of creep over the next year, 2 years? And at what point will that data end its lifetime? You know, is it a case that once it's been used and somebody gets a ping to say, you know, you've been in close proximity to somebody else's phone and therefore you should get checked out? At that point, does it get deleted? Or does that continue to be stored somewhere? And how could that be used again in the future? So I think it's really not just about how it's used now, but how do you anticipate the data privacy and data protection longer term, and how will that be stored and used?
So we have set out the very minimal collection we'll be doing now. What we have said very clearly is any changes we will make, we will explain. We'll explain in plain English. And if, for example, we move to giving people a choice to offer more data, which could be useful, we will make it a choice and we'll explain it very clearly. So I think that the best defense we have against creep, as you describe it, is transparency and an assurance that what we will do openly, and further data will be on the basis of choice. You specifically asked around what happens to data if, for example, somebody chooses to delete the app or at the end of the crisis. So the first thing to say is, if users delete the app, all data stored on their phone that hasn't been already voluntarily shared with the NHS gets deleted. It's automatically deleted on a continuous 28-day cycle in the phone. If data has been shared by choice with the NHS, then it can be retained for research in the public interest or by the NHS for planning and delivering services, obviously in line with the law and on the basis of the necessary approvals required by law.
And can I just throw that question as well to Elizabeth Dunham, please, just from an ICO perspective? Thank you.
From an ICO perspective, we know that the law was designed to flex in a time of emergency. But I think we play a very important role as the independent regulator in looking at the app at its design phase, in monitoring each iteration of the app and making sure it does what it says on the tin. And then the other really important part of our role as the independent regulator is to do robust audits on how the app is actually performed and whether or not offboarding or deletion of obsolete data is taking place. So in a sense, at the front end, in the design of the app, we're a critical friend, and we can give peer-reviewed technical advice to the NHSX, as we have been. Matthew came to me very, very early in their thinking about the app to make sure that there was assurance in going forward, because I think all of us expect digital tools to be used. We have seen digital tools being rolled out for tracking and tracing around the world. There's a lively debate about centralized versus decentralized. We can get into that. But it's really important that there be an independent oversight body to look at what's happening and to make sure that it's being rolled out in a way that is effective, but also protects the public interest in privacy and security.
And can I just briefly ask very quickly, do you consider, given the fact that you've been involved in the development of the app, do you consider yourselves to be that independent body to be able to do that?
We do consider ourselves to be the independent body because we're not sitting at the design table. We have been given some technical material that we've looked at. We expect to look at the data protection impact assessment, which is the key document for us to be able to critique and comment on. And we also expect to be monitoring how the public is responding to the app when it's rolled out. So we'll take complaints, we'll do investigations, we'll do audits. But I think it's also really helpful that NHSX wants to talk to the independent regulator at the design phase to make sure that privacy and security is built in and baked in. But we're not across every document and every plan that what's coming next. So I think we can play both the expert advisor and the enforcer at the end of the day.
Thank you.
It does highlight to me, following on what Dean said, that it's quite difficult to be both vested in and invested in the design and development of the system. And obviously it's to their credit that they've asked you to shared with you lots of details and asked for your input. But then to be then policing and enforcing the rights to privacy thereafter, because wouldn't you be then criticising yourself if they've accepted your advice, but then it turns out that it's not working in the way it should? I think I just want to press you a bit more on that point that Dean's made, is, you know, you're quite deep into it, even though you're not sitting around the table. How can you both be sharing the design and also being independently enforcing it afterwards? It sounds to me like it's, you know, it needs to be a separate person who's not been involved in shaping the design.
Well, the law that I'm responsible for administering has us playing the role as both expert advisor, not just in this app, but in any kind of innovation that's rolled out that has significant privacy impacts. The data protection impacts come to our office to comment on. We don't approve them, but we comment on it. So this is no different than us looking at a new biometric system. It's no different than us making comment on the use of a new immigration tracking system. We give expert advice. We do not sign off or approve something, because I think if we did, that would put us in a conflict for us to be able to carry out our audit and enforcement measures. But the law that Parliament gave me to administer has us playing all of those roles. And I think if you went out and very quickly tried to build another commissioner's office and another oversight body, given that we have to move at pace here, I'm not sure how that would work. But as I said, my roles are defined in law as being an advisor, commenting on new initiatives, and enforcing, investigating, and audit, and then sanctions at the end of the day. So we have powers of stop processing orders. We have powers to do on-spot inspections. Without court order, we have the ability to compel information from a public body or a private sector organization. So we have broad powers to be able to carry out the full spectrum of our role. So I don't think it takes away from me in doing that.